Hi, Mike. It's nice to see you again.
Very nice to see you, Peter.
And last time we looked at the work you were doing in the college, the training you got there, and the kind of the rigor that you were put under during that time. So you've now graduated from college. You are living, I don't know where, and you are hopefully, perhaps embarking on a career as a director, possibly. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about it.
All right. Well, I graduated in June of 1960, and I was staying in a cold water walk-up flat that a friend who was absent lent me, which was full of bed bugs and, it was very grim place. Not knowing what to do, because one of the things we weren't taught then was how to get a job. So I left the school with a degree. I was a straight A student. I got A's in everything. I had a good degree, had a lot of knowledge, quite a bit of experience. I'd done shows in summer stock. I'd done musicals and operas. And suddenly here I was in New York in the summer, unbearable. The roads practically melted, from the heat. And with no idea at all of what to do, who to write to, where to go. And feeling very sorry for myself and very much lost. And I suddenly got a call from some people who graduated at the same time as I had. There was a little contingent of them who had organized to take over or run a theater in Tucson, Arizona. And the guy who was going to be the director had gone native, or whatever you want to call it, and had gone walkabout in some desert, and they'd lost him. He didn't, and they were looking for a director. So they said, would you come out to Tucson and run the company, be the artistic director? So I said, yes. So I auditioned some actors, and I knew nothing much about auditioning, and did make awful mistakes and terrible choices. But nevertheless, I got a X number of actors together. And then with one of them, who was also had been a roommate and was a writing graduate at Carnegie with me, I drove out to Arizona. Now, I guess it still happens, but in those days, people who were crossing the states and didn't want to drive their cars, they'd fly out or get the train, and you could drive their car for them. All it cost you was the petrol. And it was done very efficiently so that you didn't have to rush there. You could take 5 or 6 days. So this is what I did. Got a car and to drive it to Tucson for whoever it was, and drove across the states, which was wonderful. Went through the Yellow Desert and so forth and so on. And got to Tucson. And the theatre was called Theatre West, which was rather unfortunate because it went west very quickly. The first production I did was an Jean Anouilh play called Thieves' Carnival. And it was very nice. It was light and good, and it was something I could do very well. And I had a designer who was also an ex-Carnegie graduate. And then I was going to do, of all things, Pirandello's Henry IV. Very difficult. This is for Tucson, Arizona. Anyway, to cut a very long story short, the guy who was the producer, again a graduate, had screwed up on the finances, and it looked very dodgy. And then a very sad thing happened. An actor in the company was killed in a car accident. And I had to go on stage for him that very night, which was weird. And then the company closed. So that was a very abortive start to my career. And so it was. So anyway, we closed everything up. I got a peptic ulcer because I was so upset and worried.
Mm.
And which is all right now. And I got on a train and I thought I have to go back to New York. And I thought, no, I'll stop off in Pittsburgh and say hello to people and see what's happening to people from, years beneath me and see some of the faculty, just to be nice. So I stopped in Pittsburgh and a graduate directing guy came up to me and said, hey, you might be interested in this. They're looking for a director to run a newish theatre in Cincinnati. And I can't go because my schedule and training is, you might be interested. Why don't you give them a call? So I called the chairman of this place in Cincinnati. The next day, I got on a plane from Pittsburgh to Cincinnati, met the chairman of this theatre called the Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park. And luckily, he was an Anglophile, as was his wife. And he said, well, you haven't done very much in your life, but if it doesn't work out, we can always get rid of you. And subsequently, I thought no English person would offer somebody a job. They'd hedge their bets, they'd hedge their bets, and they'd say, well, you haven't done enough for us, and blah, blah, blah. And I thought it was kind of wonderful. So I was 26, and I was running a repertory theatre and got a lot of support. It didn't have any national or official funding. It was funded totally by the goodwill and enthusiasm of a lot of the Cincinnati people who cared for such things. They put a lot of money into it. It was a very charming little theatre in the round at the top of a hill in a park. Mm-hmm. And they'd done one season before, but the director was freaked out a little bit, and he'd vanished and he was unreliable, you see. So I had to sort of make up. It was a three-side theatre, seated about 150, 200 people. And again, I was very ambitious. And the first season, I did a version of Volpone, adapted by a French guy, which cut out a lady, what is it? There's an awful, subplot which never works. And it was kind of good. The second play was A View from the Bridge. The third play was Under Milkwood. The fourth play was The Seagull. The fifth play was La Ronde. The sixth play was a double bill by UNESCO. And I directed all of them. And they ran for 2 weeks each. So I was rehearsing for 2 weeks and directing and running the theatre. And it was a very successful season. Now, they hadn't planned ever to do a winter season because it gets snowy and the theatre was on a little hill and they thought it would be difficult, but I probably misguidedly persuaded them they should do a winter season. Mm-hmm. And the program for that was Hedda Gabler, Sermon of Two Masters, Heartbreak House, No Exit by Sartre, with a double bill with a play by O'Casey called Bedtime Story, a new play by a guy who'd been a writing graduate from thing, and Hamlet.
Oh.
And I think I negotiated 3 weeks rehearsals on that. Well, they were right and I were wrong. Winter, people didn't want to come out, and it was 3 weeks instead of 4. So the season had to close, and again, they lost money. And I was very, shattered by this. And they said, well, look, I think you've been trying to produce and direct, and it's too much. We should get a producer in. And stupidly, I thought they were getting rid of me. Mm. And I got very sensitive and I left. And actually, I should have stayed on. But simultaneously with doing, say, Hedda Gabler in Cincinnati, in the Midwest, I was thinking, why am I doing these plays? Why am I working in the Midwest? The Royal Court had come alive again, and they were doing, and all this wonderful new work was doing, John
Osborne.
John Osborne and so forth and so on. It was all very thrilling. And I remember a woman coming up to me when I was doing Hedda Gabler and saying, oh, I just love Ibsen. And I thought, why am I here doing this, you see? So very impulsively, and this is a little pattern which is not good. Am I running away from something or running to something? And that's been a little pattern I've observed over the years. And the answer is a little bit ambivalent. I decided to leave America and come back to England. Now, I'd done a lot of work. I directed about 6, 12 plays post college at Carnegie, another one in Cincinnati. I'd done 30 productions. I'd also done not only my required productions at Carnegie, but we did extracurricular productions. We were so energized that I'd done Blithe Spirit and something else. So I'd done, and then because I was a kind of senior student in a way, because of age, they asked me to work with the stage management, and I did a Fado fast with some stage managers coming. So I'd done, and plus the amateur stuff I'd done, and semi-professional stuff I'd done in Los Angeles. I'd done about 25 to 30 productions, and I'd had a lot of good reviews. So I came back to England full of, my gonads were working overtime, and I felt really full of life and energy, and I was going to come back and work. And I got a hold of a copy of what was, I don't know if it still exists, stage. It's connected with
The magazine or Spotlight?
Spotlight. It was a magazine. I think it was Spotlight, wasn't it? Magazine with all the contacts, and I wrote 100 letters and sent copies of my reviews to all the theatres around England, and got 2 replies. And gradually all my enthusiasm and feeling of confidence just drained away. This is another story.
Okay. Well, why don't we make this another story? Why don't we, as it were, rewind 5 seconds in a second and begin with you coming back to England. You're returning home, okay? After how many years away?
I'd lived in the States I'd been away for 8 years, 2 years.
National service.
And no, 10 years I'd been away, actually. 2 years in the national service, 8 years in America.
Right.
I had been back for a summer holiday in 1957 between New York and starting to train in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But in all intents and purposes, I'd been away for 10 years.
Okay. All right, Mike. Well, that's great. And we're going to bring this little section to a close. The Adventures of Mike Alfreds in America. And in our next chat, we're going to look at you coming back to England. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for watching. And I hope you enjoyed that chat. And if you did, would you press the like button and also the subscribe button? That would be great. And if you wanted to be given alerts to when the next one is happening, just press the bell button. If you want to put any comments or any questions underneath here, underneath the video, please do. And at some point I will re-interview Mike, as it were, and put some of these questions to him. So I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.